Testing, 1, 2, testing. Welcome, folks, to Theology Unleashed, where Western skepticism meets Eastern philosophy and gets crushed. I added that last bit in there. I'm your host. My name is Josh Wolf. I'm broadcasting live from Auckland, New Zealand. We're 13 hours in the future. And today I am joined by our very special guests who are going to debate the problem of evil. Is there enough evil in the world? How can we get more? No, that's not the actual problem of evil. The actual problem of evil is a classical kind of debate, discussion amongst theologians, philosophers. If God is all good, why does evil exist? And today we have two great internet debaters, very knowledgeable in their field. They're coming on to discuss this problem. We have Adi Purusha, who is a divinity theology student studying in England. I can't remember whether it's Oxford or Cambridge. We'll get him to tell us when he comes on. And he is going to be faced in the blue corner by the famous internet atheist debater, TJump, aka TJump, who debates from his basement in an undisclosed location in the continental United States against atheists, mostly about the existence and nature of God, problems in that kind of space, especially epistemology. He's written a book on epistemology. He's looking to get that published shortly. So I'm going to bring our guests for today into the stream. First up, we have Akshay Gupta, aka Adi Purusha, coming in live now.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, sounds like your microphone is working. Good evening. Legendary, even better than I look. I know it's very hard to believe, but it is true. How are you today?
I'm doing good.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us from, are you studying at Cambridge or Oxford?
Cambridge.
Cambridge. I remember in the last Problem of Evil debate where you faced off against Seth, he was from Oxford, you're from Cambridge. Classic kind of rivalry.
Yeah, good old Oxford-Cambridge rivalry there. Although now he's, I think, Durham now.
Yes. Not Durham, North Carolina. Durham, England. The original Durham. Okay, let's bring in TJump's couch. And obviously, whenever we pull in TJump's couch, that also pulls in TJump along with it. Welcome, TJump.
So funny, Josh. It's so funny. What is with the comedy stuff? Is this new for you?
Oh, no, look, let's just keep it. If it's not fun, why would I get up on a Sunday morning for it?
Sunday morning. Oh, yeah, I forget. You're from someplace
in the future.
The world.
Correct.
Yeah.
I've come back from the future to save you. If you want to live, come with me.
Here it's Saturday, so we're better than you.
Right, and you get to experience. Well, you don't get to experience Saturday twice, but I am getting to vicariously experience Saturday twice through you. So thank you for that. Thanks for phoning it in. Okay, gentlemen, the problem of evil. Now, what do you want to do? Rock, paper, scissors to see who's going to go first on this one, or do you have like a consensus already?
We don't.
Rock, paper, scissors, hey?
Well, I have no idea how the Hare Krishna position addresses the problem of suffering. So if possible, I'd like him to go first, so I have some idea of what exactly we're talking about.
Are you aligned with that, Adi Purusha? Do you accept those terms of the challenge?
Yeah, I'll accept those terms.
Okay. So we'll have an opening statement from, how does this sound to you guys? Opening statement, each, opportunity to respond, and then interlocution plus questions from the internet.
I don't know. I think we could do the opening statements last. That would be fun. Never done that before.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, revolutionizing internet debate. Let's go straight. Let's go straight to the questions from the comments then. Ram Emelianov from the Czech Republic. I've got no idea what time it is there. Actually, I do know. It's 10 p.m. at night. Thanks for tuning in, Ram. He's asking if you're in Minnesota.
Yes, I'm in Minnesota. Unfortunately, it's cold here.
Okay. I actually saw on Facebook on this day in history, 2007, I was rolling in the snow in Westford, Massachusetts. It's a very, very hot South Pacific December right now. And Craig Reed's also enjoying the humor. Thanks for tuning in, Craig. Love your work. And Lee says, hi.
These are some deep questions.
Yeah. So there we go. That was the questions portion. So let's go now to responses, responding to each other's opening statements.
Okay.
And so, Adi Purusha, you've accepted the terms of the challenge. You are first. So
okay.
I'm going to hand the mic over to you to discuss the problem of evil.
Okay. Am I good?
I don't know. You tell me. Or are you evil? Are you? I think you are on the side of good, right? That's your thing.
I hope so.
Okay.
Okay. So, for those of you that may be unfamiliar, the problem of evil basically states that if God is all good, all powerful, and all knowing, so argument goes: God is all good, all knowing, and all powerful. in that evil exists, and evil is supposed to be inconsistent with an all-powerful, all-knowing, all-good God. Because if God is all good, then he would want to prevent evil. If God is all-powerful, he would have the ability to prevent evil. If God is all-knowing, he would have the knowledge by which he could prevent evil. So the problem of evil is meant to challenge the internal coherence of theism. And the way that theists respond to the problem of evil is by presenting a theodicy, which is basically a defense of why God allows there to be evil in the world. And I guess I'll not go into the, Christians, Muslims, they all have their own theodicy, but here I'm going to present the Hare Krishna theodicy. So there's several parts to it. It's got several tiers of it, and maybe we can debate all of them or certain parts, certain tiers of the debate. But first, the root of evil, the reason evil, well, the root of evil is that we've chosen to live in this world, and originally we were not in this world. According to the Hare Krishna theology, originally there was a super mundane or spiritual world where we lived and where we were happily enjoying a relationship with God. But one of the consequences of, well, actually, let me backtrack. So in the spiritual world, the soul has love of God, and the highest good within Hare Krishna theology is love of God, and to have a loving relationship with God. That is the highest good. And in order to achieve this good, in order to be able to love someone, in order to love God, it has to be a freely chosen act. God can't force you to love him. He can't, he can't make us robots who automatically love God with no say in the matter. That would be, you can't have love and force at the same time. So the highest good is to love God, but in order to have this, in order to enjoy this good, the soul has to freely choose to love God. So in the Hare Krishna theology, most souls in the spiritual world do choose to have a loving relationship with God. And our spiritual teachers estimate that 90% of souls have a loving relationship with God. But a minority of souls have chosen to, they had the curiosity and wanted to see what it would be like to live without God. So they came down to this world. So that's the first part of the theodicy, and that is that the soul decides to leave the spiritual world. And one question you might ask is, well, why couldn't God just make it so that all souls choose to love him? And I can get into a more elaborate response, but the simple response is that you can't force someone, in order to have free will, you can't be forced into doing anything. Like if God forced the soul to act in a certain way, then the soul would not have free will. A soul that is coerced to act in certain ways and is yet free is like a square circle. It doesn't exist. So part of the freedom that is necessary in order for the soul to have a relationship with God is, part of the conditions of having the freedom to love God is that you also have the ability to leave God. And I guess maybe I can just give a sort of, for those of you that might be interested in a more elaborate defense of this, I can give a more elaborate defense of this. Basically, in philosophy, there's sort of what's known as modal logic. It gets into the possible worlds, and it talks about possible worlds that could have been. Like there's a possible world in which I was could be 7'10". These are basically semantic devices that talk about possibilities that could have been. So, there's a question coming. So basically, a more elaborate defense of why souls fall down in the first place is, like, the best type of world is one in which no selves misuse their free will. Actually, sorry, this is like an argument that one could construct. The best type of world is one in which no selves misuse their free will by leaving God. And God, being omnibenevolent, necessarily produces the best type of world. And then God necessarily produces a world in which no selves misuse their free will by leaving God. Thus, there are no possible worlds in which selves can misuse their free will by leaving God. And selves are not free to leave God. So this argument is incoherent. So what it demonstrates is that it's not possible for God to create a world in which souls cannot leave him. So that's the first point, that souls choose to leave God and choose to come down into this world, and it's logically impossible for God to be able to control them and control what they do and prevent them from doing otherwise. And then the second part of the theodicy is why there's evil in the first place, or why there's evil in this world. And the second response is karma. Karma, what goes around comes around. So basically, we reap the fruit. We're getting to the Hare Krishna part soon. We reap the fruits of our actions. So if we do a bad action, then we get a bad response. We do something like good, then we get a good response. And karma in Hare Krishna theology has a teleological purpose. So it's meant to correct us and reform us so that so we can ultimately be turned back to God and develop the spiritual qualities needed to be able to turn back to God. That's why there's karma. It sort of teaches us lessons and allows us to go back to God. But then within the Hare Krishna theology, there's also, so God, if you decide to turn towards God and perform what we call bhakti, or perform acts of devotion towards God, then he can burn up your karma, and then you're under God's jurisdiction at that point. And at that point, the God, who we say is Krishna, personally orchestrates instances of, let's say, we can say suffering, or sort of negative. Well, it's not really negative, but let's say God orchestrates suffering at that point. And the point of the suffering at that point is to teach the soul lesson so that it can intensify its love for God. And there's even, you can look into studies. There are studies that show that when people are in times of crises, they do intensify their devotion towards God. And this intensification of one's devotion is also a greater good, because otherwise the soul is left to their own devices and is stuck in the material world. And until they, basically by God choosing to orchestrate instances of suffering for people, then it enables them to love God sooner so that they can return to this spiritual world. So basically there's 3 tiers to it. And I've gone through them I've gone through them very briefly, but one could spend a lot more time on them. Basically, 1, the soul chooses to come here. 2, there's karmic laws that act on souls. And 3, for people that turn towards God, God orchestrates suffering in order to intensify their devotion and love so that they can come back to the spiritual world where God resides. It's sort of it. I mean, there's a lot more that could be added to that, but since we're dealing with some time constraints, I can start off with that.
Okay. You can hear me now, Adi Purusha?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so we got your your opening statement there, and we've been having some great comments in the questions section. But we'll come back to look at those a little bit later. And can you guys see the comment stream?
I can. Yeah, it's actually a little bit. I need to
Yeah, just ignore it while you're speaking.
Yeah.
And then, while Tom's speaking, you can be listening to him. Reading the comment stream, checking the news, whatever, updating your Facebook feed. Liking people's pictures on Instagram. And we'll go now to TJump's opening statement, and then we'll come back, give you the opportunity to respond to things. So dropping out Adi Purusha and bringing in TJump and his couch. The floor is now yours.
Should have been like the couch and his TJump. But essentially the problem of suffering is that if there was an all good, all powerful God, then he would not have created a world with unnecessary suffering, because that would be by definition evil, and so he wouldn't be all good. Either, if there is lots of suffering in the world, either the God who created it is not powerful enough to stop the suffering, so he's not all powerful, or he doesn't want to stop the suffering, in which he's not all good, or he's not knowledgeable enough to know how, in which he's not all knowing. So if you consider God to be all good, all knowing, all powerful, then it's impossible for that God to produce a world with suffering like what we have here. So this kind of world, as we see it, disproves the idea of an all good, all powerful God. It's essentially the Euthyphro, or not the Euthyphro, I forgot his name. It's the quadrilemma of another guy who starts with the name E. But Epicurus quadrilemma, that's the one. And so if we can show that there is a better alternative to the world that we live in now that God could have created but didn't, then that demonstrates definitively that God cannot be all good or all powerful. And so it disproves all notions of any all good, all powerful God. And we can show that there is a better alternative to this world. For example, it could be possible, it is clearly logically possible, to imagine a world where it is logically or it's physically impossible to force one person to do something they don't consent to. That's really all you need to add. If you add in that one rule to the laws of physics, you have a better world. Absolutely. That doesn't get rid of suffering. It doesn't get rid of free will. Like, you can still suffer if you choose to. If you allow yourself to suffer, you can feel it. And if you allow yourself, or if you want to harm people, you can still desire to harm people or to do immoral things. So this new rule doesn't affect free will or morality, and so if you or suffering. And so if you present either of those as reasons that God could not have done this, then that argument fails, because God could still have added this rule without affecting either of those. So in order to disprove this argument, my opponent will need to show that this can't occur, that God could not do this. There's some logical contradiction, but in order to do that, it's going to be problematic, because we know it is logically possible since humans can do it. Like, we can literally do it if we gain enough control over technology. We're moving towards that stage in our technological development. Once we can upload people's consciousness to computers in the future, we will be able to write this law in like any other, that it is, again, it's just a pretty simple law. It's like, it's physically impossible to force anyone to do anything they don't consent to. That's the rule. So it's pretty easy to describe what this universe would be like. It'd essentially be like, everyone starts with their own universe. You get your own universe, you set the laws however you want. You can just write a list of all the things you want to be allowed, all the things you want to be not allowed. And in your universe, that is just what occurs. And so anything that violates what you deem to be allowed is a violation of your consent. You do not allow, you will that not to occur in your universe. It can't occur in your universe. But this, you can go to other people's universes. If you voluntarily choose to agree to their laws and their rules, you can enter their universe where they have their rules and constraints set. And so they can set them to be whatever they want. You could have Hitler could exist with his own universe, which is, he could do very immoral things with, but as long as no one is forced to enter his universe without their consent, or without lying about it and saying that it's different than what it actually is, then there's no immoral action there. It's totally fine for Hitler to have his own universe as he designs it, as long as he can't force anybody into it that they don't consent to be there. So in this kind of world I'm describing, there is no such thing as an immoral action. It's perfectly fine. You can still have suffering. You can still have free will. Everybody gets their own universe. And the most important part of this is that it's not only logically possible, but it's actually possible. Like, when we grow enough in technology, we humans will be able to produce this kind of universe. And so if a God can't produce this kind of universe, that's kind of a problem, because that means that the all-powerful God can't do what we can do, which means either we're more than all-powerful or he's not all-powerful. And that kind of disproves all the possibilities of what God could be like, because since there's obviously a better world that could exist, and God did not create that world, and we don't have the option to go to that world just like snapping our fingers or whatever, then clearly whatever created this world, if there is a God, it must either be immoral or not all-powerful. And that kind of refutes any ideas of a God just by acknowledging that suffering is a thing that we don't have a choice in. And I'll conclude there. Josh, where are you, Josh?
I was just doing that for dramatic tension. Wanted to see what you do with that. Great opening statement. And, I'm starting to hear the development of the objective morality argument in there. I think you covered that with were you covering that with the Islamic guys the other day?
No, the Islamic guys, we talked about the most mundane facts, like bees eat fruits, and that there are barriers in the ocean, and that it's dark. That's what we talked about. It was super fun.
Okay, must have been a different argument that I was watching of yours. We're preparing for that one. It's coming up. It's a four-way intersectional debate about objective morality. But today we're talking about the problem of evil. So let's bring Adi Purusha back in, and let's go to right of reply now. Maybe you could further develop your argument, Adi Purusha, respond to anything that TJump said, bring in any kind of thinking that you've got from the comments, but we'll go specifically to the comments afterwards. And I'm going to leave both of you in the stream so that people can watch the TJump reacts to Adi Purusha's response.
Okay. I actually have the comments. I have my computer so that I can't see the comments, so that gives me a little bit more peace of mind. So you raised an interesting... So you raise an interesting doubt. Your claim is that this world is logically possible, therefore I have to prove that it's not logically possible. I don't think I have to prove that it's not logically possible. I think I just have to show that the world that God has created is better than the world you've described. And I think maybe there's some points that should be brought up on the table that are important to note. So let's say that in the spiritual world, the happiness that the soul experiences is very, very, very immense. It's a very high, immense form of happiness, and that nothing in this world compares to it. Let's say if God decided to, I'll even do you better than the world you described. Let's say God created a world that's just a hedonistic paradise where you can eat really sweet mangoes that don't have any peel or seeds, just rivers of like nectar, and it's just a real hedonistic paradise, and there's no suffering, and it's just it's like I don't know, with the heavens and the Greek gods or something.
Yeah, I don't like any of those things, but I get your point. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's interesting. So basically in Hare Krishna theology, like the love of God, love of God is like by far the highest good, like nothing can compare. And because it's the highest good, the highest happiness we can experience is to get back to this spiritual world as fast as possible. So in the interest of getting...
Let me just kind of, I think I see where you're going here. So let me see. Would it be more moral to force people into this world of the Hare Krishna heaven, or would it be more moral to give them the option? You can go to this world of the Hare Krishna heaven, or you could go to a different world of your choosing. Which of those options is more moral?
Wait. Well, in our theology, God doesn't really force the soul to do anything.
Well, this isn't specifically about your God. It's just a general question. So would it be more moral to force someone into the hedonistic heaven, or would it be more moral to give them the option? Here, you could go here if you choose to, or you could go somewhere else. Which is the more moral option?
I guess the more moral option would be, well, it's not, I don't know if it's about morality, but about upholding free will. But the thing that in order to uphold free will, God would basically have to allow the soul to go wherever they please.
So it is. I think that means it's more moral. I think that because God has to do it because it's more moral, right?
You could say it's more moral, but it's also just logically impossible to force a soul to do something and give him free will. It's not necessarily even morals at that point. It's just logical possibility.
I presume the reason he allows us to have free will is because it's more moral to allow us to have free will than to take it away from us, right?
Yeah, it's better to be able to have free will and be able to love God than to be some sort of robot that's controlled into...
Sure. Sure. So it's more moral to give someone the option rather than forcing them into the divine heaven, right?
Yeah, and that's actually what we hold. God doesn't force anyone to stay in that heaven. Sure. He gives the souls the option. Yeah.
So that means the highest good isn't the perfectly good heaven of all joy and hedonism. It's the choice. The choice is the higher good. So if it would be better to create a world where people have the choice rather than just forcing them into heaven. So the world I described is centered around choice. Like you have the choice. Everything. It's impossible for any being, including God, to force any other being to do something they don't consent to or they don't choose to do. So the highest good is choice, not hedonism. You can still choose to suffer. You can choose to not be in perfectly good in this world or whatever. And that seems to be a morally superior world, because this world achieves everything you described that your God needed to do, gives us free will, allows us to have suffering. You can still choose to love God if you want, like Hare Krishnas can choose to go to the Hare Krishna God's universe in this world that I've described and worship him and do everything he wants. Or you could choose to come to this world and go through the trials and tribulations and then go to the Christian God's universe or whatever. You can do whatever you choose to. And that world that I'm describing is a morally superior world than the one that you've described. And so it seems weird that this all good, all powerful God didn't create that world that I described.
Yeah, so the choice itself is not the good. The good is the actual loving relationship one has with God, but a necessary condition of that relationship is the choice. But the choice itself is not the good.
So I see that as obviously wrong. So the fact that whether or not we love God doesn't matter. Like murdering babies is wrong regardless of whether you love God. The loving God makes no difference. It's not like if you have a choice, murder a baby or love God. Anyone who chooses to love God is wrong. You are morally wrong to pick the love God over the murder of the baby. If murdering the baby is clearly more morally wrong than not loving God. So clearly that isn't the moral goodness. Loving the God isn't the moral goodness. Or would you disagree? Would you say that it's more like, if you had to choose, which is more immoral, killing a baby or losing your love in God? Which of those is more immoral?
Loving God. I mean, if you love God, you obviously wouldn't kill a baby.
That's not the question. So the question is here is a comparison between which is the more moral thing to do. So you had to choose which one do you lose, or say you could say save a baby versus choosing to love in God, or you have the option between either killing a baby or loving God, but not both. Which one is just a comparison? You don't actually have to do them or saying you would or wouldn't, doesn't matter. It's just a comparison between the level of immorality of the actions. Is it more immoral to stop loving God, and so you would choose to not do that and choose to kill the baby because killing the baby is less immoral than not loving God? Like, which one is the more immoral action?
More immoral action. I guess if you look at it in terms of the happiness that the soul gets, if the soul loses the ability to have a relationship with God, then that's like you lose infinite happiness. Whereas if you kill a child, I mean, it causes an immense amount of unhappiness, but it's not. You don't lose. I don't know, the net happiness you have it can't be really compared, I guess. Like
I guess you could take that position. I mean, I would definitely disagree. I think that it's clearly more immoral to kill a baby than whatever belief you choose. I don't think beliefs have any moral value whatsoever. You can believe whatever you want, has no significance whatsoever. So, I mean, I would just appeal to the intuition of the audience. I'd say, if you think it's more immoral to stop believing in God than to kill a baby, your moral system probably is not correct. I think that is not.
Well, my moral system is that it's bad to kill a baby, and it's
right. So I'm making a comparison. If you think it's more immoral to stop believing in God than it is to kill a baby, your moral system is wrong. You don't have the correct epistemic assessment of morality there. So I'd say that is not a good system of morality. If it comes to that conclusion is obviously incorrect.
I mean, our theology doesn't say it's bad to. I mean, doesn't say it's good. I mean, our theology obviously holds it's wrong to kill babies,
right,
and the reason.
I mean, I'm not saying that you say it's right to kill babies. I'm saying if you think it's more wrong to stop believing in God than it is to kill a baby, then your moral system is incorrect. You have not judged the situations correctly. Now, I grant that you think killing babies is wrong. I'm not saying that you think it's right. But if you think that stopping believing in God is somehow morally more immoral than killing a baby, your moral system is off quite a bit.
Yeah, so in our theology, I guess it's not that it's. I mean, I don't think someone is immoral if they don't choose to believe in God. I think everyone has that choice, and it's maybe not immoral to not believe in God. But the question is, what will lead to the soul having the most happiness? And what will lead to the soul having the most happiness is to have a relationship with God. And the amount of happiness you lose by turning away from God is greater than the amount of happiness that a child may suffer. But that doesn't mean that it's more morally wrong to turn away from God than to kill a child.
So for me, morality is not about the hedonistic joy that you get afterwards. So something isn't moral just because it leads to more pleasure. Like that's irrelevant to me whether or not it leads to more pleasure. Like I don't care if someone chooses a world with more pleasure or less pleasure or suffering. They should have the choice to do any of those. So I don't really care how much pleasure is in the afterlife or not. That makes zero difference to what is valuable in the world. So I don't know how that would relate specifically to the conversation. The conversation is, why is there the problem of evil? Why is there suffering? And the fact that it could allow for a greater happiness in the afterlife, I mean, I really don't care about that. That's not a relevant reason to allow for suffering, because you can allow for suffering and not have that, or you could just allow people the choice to go to those worlds without the suffering. Or there's all kinds of things you could do. So that isn't really relevant to the question, because it seems clearly possible to allow suffering in a morally superior world than the one that the Hare Krishnas describe. So I can get all of the positive benefits that you've described in the Hare Krishna world, plus another one, which is it's morally perfect. So my world has all of the benefits of your world, plus it's morally perfect, whereas yours has the ones you've described, but it's morally inferior to my world, which seems to show that your God, either I'm smarter than your God, or your God is not perfectly good.
Yeah, so I guess a large part of this will depend on how you define morals and how you ground those morals, and what your basis for morality is in the first place. I guess I'll explain Hare Krishna moral epistemology a little bit. Maybe that'll clarify or add to the discussion. So, like I said, the highest good is to have a loving relationship with God. That's the highest good. But that doesn't mean that, like, morals, like, you act virtuously in this world because it's, you choose to not harm children, or you choose to not cause harm to other people, because in the process of doing so, these acts basically, like, these sinful activities, we can say, basically take you away from God. So they are intrinsically immoral in that sense, because they take you away from God. They put you in what we call the mode of ignorance.
Just to
Three
clarify,
different.
so when you say the highest good, I think that's like synonymous with what I mean by morality or objective morality. So are you making a distinction between the highest good and morality in this context?
I guess I'm defining what the highest good in our theology is. And
Well, I mean, just the definition of highest good for me would be objective morality. So I don't see those as different things.
okay, yeah. So I guess I'm describing what our well, I guess it's a little more complex. So there's the highest good, which is to love God, but then there are objective morals and principles that are less, like, it's objectively bad to hurt someone or to kill someone or to steal, because these things take you away from that highest good. And they also cause harm to others, and that's, causing harm to others is also objectively bad, we can say.
All right. So if I present you two options, I say you say the highest good is loving God, and I would say, so if it's a higher good to love God than it is to protect a baby, then you would choose between the two. You would sacrifice or kill the baby to protect the loving God, whereas I would sacrifice the loving God in a second to save the baby, because the baby's life is a higher good than the loving
It's
God.
not that you do one or the other. Like, those two goals are aligned.
Whether or not you want to do them isn't the point of the question. The point of the question is which one has a higher moral value. So it's not like if it's necessarily the case that they're opposed. It's just a thought experiment. So in the
thought experiment can't be done because those things can't be shown. You can't separate the two.
Sure you can. You can just say, if you have a belief, like you say you suffered a head injury or something, and you have this false belief that you have to either kill the baby or you're going to lose your belief in God. And it's just a false belief or whatever, because you have a brain injury or a brain tumor or whatever. In your worldview, that person would be rational to kill the baby because based on your assessment of values, the loving God is more important than the life of the baby.
No, because in order to love God, you have to follow certain moral principles, and killing babies goes against those moral principles. So there's no world in which it would be moral to love God, but immoral to, there's no world in which it's moral to kill the baby and moral to love God. Every world you can imagine, it's immoral to kill the baby.
So I can grant that, but again, this is a thought experiment. Imagine someone has a brain tumor.
Yeah, but it's not a logically possible thought experiment. It's not. There's not going to be any case where you have to choose between loving God or choosing to kill a baby.
So I'm not.
I want to just jump in here for a second and throw something into the mix. This exact thought experiment that you're describing here is actually in the Bible, in the Old Testament, where is it Abraham was called to kill his son Isaac, I think.
There's two of these cases in the Bible. One of them was Abraham, where he was called to kill his son, and there was another one where there's a king, J-Tebeth something, some silly name, where he prayed to God and said, "Let me win this battle, and I will sacrifice the first thing that comes through my door when I get home." And it was his daughter. And in that case, he did actually sacrifice her. He burned her alive. So it's happened twice in the Bible.
Okay. Well, let's go with the first one.
You don't find that in any of our scriptures, though.
But let's just create this.
Yeah, it's not Hare Krishna. It's not Hare Krishna.
Let's create this thought experiment as it's in the Bible and see how it gets treated by each of your approaches. I don't know if you're familiar with this pastime, Adi Purusha, but in the Bible, there's a description where God says to Abraham that I want you to sacrifice your son to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so he gets ready to do it. He puts him on the altar and everything. He's getting ready to, I don't know, light him on fire, cut his throat, whatever he does. And he's like, I'm going to fully do this because like doing what God tells me to do is the highest good, and it supersedes all other kind of moral considerations. And he's just about to do it. And then an angel comes and stays his hand and says, you've demonstrated that you are loyal or faithful to some higher consideration than normal, ordinary morals. And so, this is an example of someone who is, in a sense, kind of transcendental to ordinary morality, because his highest good is to please God, as it appears in this pastime. I guess in the Hare Krishna tradition,
Well,
it may be
let me try to answer it. I think the Hare
Sure.
Krishna would probably say the answer that, well, no, we would say, no, we were not going to do this just because God told us, because we know it's against his nature, probably a test of some kind. That would be my guess of what the Hare Krishna answer would be along those lines. But I still wanted to, because I kind of want to focus on this point here. So I grant that it's logically impossible for there to be a world where killing a baby would keep you from losing your faith in God. I can grant that. But it is logically possible that someone has a brain tumor and they think this is the case. So it's not logically the case. It's not going to happen. But they are under the delusion that if they don't kill this baby, they're going to lose their belief in the Hare Krishna God. So under your worldview, where the belief in God is the highest good, they would be rational to kill the baby to protect their belief in God if they were under this delusion. Correct?
That's okay. So this person has some brain leisure, and then somehow this brain leisure is forcing them in a situation where they just have to kill a baby in order to retain their faith in God.
Oh no, it's just a belief. So they're not in any situation. There's a brain tumor that just causes the wiring in the brain to be all messed up, and they think they have this pervasive belief that if they don't kill this baby, they're going to lose their belief in the Hare Krishna God.
I mean, in that case, it would be better for them not to kill the baby, because, I mean, by killing the baby, you would basically put yourself in ignorance and then cover your ability to understand God. I mean, I don't see why. I can't imagine a world in which these circumstances actually like obtain. I can't. Like, if you kill the baby, it's going to put you in ignorance, and it's going to obscure your ability to understand God.
So this isn't actually about killing the baby here. So it's saying that if a person had a delusion where they thought they had to kill a baby, so they're paraplegic. You can say they're paraplegic. They can never do anything one way or the other. But they have this delusion in their brain that if they don't kill this baby, they're going to lose their belief in the God. It's rational for them to have the desire to kill the baby because they think the belief in God is morally more important under your worldview. Your worldview prescribes that you should desire to kill the baby if you have this delusion, because the valuing the lovingness of God is more important than the baby's life in your worldview. Right?
In our worldview, you have to come to a certain moral standard to love God. So it's like, with these thought experiments keep trying to separate the two, but in our theology, you just can't separate the two. You can't be immoral and love God. So if you do an immoral action, like logically, you can't come to love God.
Well, it can't be immoral. They have a brain tumor, so they're not responsible. So it still wouldn't apply, because it seems like you're just trying to evade the question. Like, it's perfectly logically reasonable question that is clearly possible and has actually happened on Earth many, many times. So we know of medical cases where this does happen, and people do have brain lesions and brain tumors where they think God has told them to do something, and that if they don't do it, they're going to go to hell or whatever. This has happened. We have actual examples where this literal thing has occurred. So if they take your worldview seriously, then it seems like they're rational to want to kill the baby, because in your worldview, it objectively states the highest value is the loving the God, not the baby's life. And in my worldview, I think that's obviously wrong. I think the baby's life is a hell of a lot more important than loving God or any belief. I don't think any belief ever in any human existence is more important than a human life under any circumstances.
I would also say that it's more important in this sort of far-fetched case to save the baby's life.
So loving God,
because we also have reincarnation. I mean, I think it's better for that soul's spiritual development to save the baby's life and develop a sort of moral standard by which they don't think that by which they think, acknowledge that killing babies is wrong, that will help their spiritual life more than to sort of believe in God in this sort of diluted worldview. I think it'd be better in that case to at least get a proper sense of morality and then learn to develop.
That wasn't the question. That wasn't the question. So again, the question is about, if you think loving God is the highest moral good, then you think it's more important than the life of the baby. I think the life of the baby is more important than loving God. And I think it's obviously the case. And the example is just to bring out that point. So you're just kind of evading the actual question here, because the point of the thought experiment is, which is more important, loving God or the life of the baby? And the life of the baby on a correct moral system is always going to be more important than any belief of any human ever.
What if the baby is Adolf Hitler?
Still immoral to kill it.
I mean, granted, maybe there's some cases where people actually come to have this belief, but like I've said, in these cases, it's better to value the life of that child. And
So
I mean, if someone's religious system is such that they think that like loving God means to kill babies, like obviously that's not going to take them to God.
Right. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that. So if you suppose there's the most devout Hare Krishna ever, he just got hit by a car and he has a brain tumor and his brain is not functioning correctly, and he has this belief. Because he is correct in your worldview, he is logically correct that valuing God is the highest thing. And so the baby's life is not as high as valuing God. And so even though he's under this delusion about killing the baby, his belief that killing the baby is not as good as, or the baby's life is not as good as loving God would still be true in your worldview. That belief would be true, even if the other one about killing the baby is somehow relevant to his belief or his spiritual life is false. So again, the point of the analogy here is to show that if you're right and the highest good is loving God, then a baby's life is not as good as loving God. And I say that's obviously false. Like I say, any moral system which places loving some kind of a belief system above the life of a human is obviously incorrect. And so that if you recognize that, if people share my intuitions in the audience, then they would obviously reject your ideology as being an incorrect moral system, and that would lend evidence that my model of morality is probably more accurate, and my model of the best of all possible worlds is a better world that could exist that the God didn't create.
Yeah, like I don't know. Somehow I just find it implausible that, I mean, if someone does actually believe this, I would say it's better to value the life of the child in this kind of far-fetched circumstance.
So valuing God is not as important as the life of the child. The life of the child is more important than valuing God, loving God.
In this particular circumstance, when loving God is just not a proper religious framework, yeah, but I mean, we should look at normal cases and not these like far-fetched cases.
Well,
Obviously,
thought experiments are just meant to isolate variables. They don't actually matter whether it's far-fetched or variable. The question is which has more value, loving God or the life of the baby?
yeah, well, also, the thing is about morals, they're also context-specific. So in most normal contexts, you wouldn't even have to choose between the two.
Again, not the point of the question. So if you think loving God is the highest moral good, then it must be more moral than the life of or more good than the life of the baby by definition, right? Like that's what the highest good means, right?
The highest good is what brings you closer to have a loving relationship with God. In this far-fetched thought experiment, him choosing to retain his belief in God by killing the baby is not actually going to lead him closer to God.
Right. So getting closer to God is the highest moral good, not the life of the baby. Whereas I can say clearly, the life of the baby is the moral good. Doesn't make a difference how close you are to God. That makes no difference at all. The life of the baby is always going to be better than any distance to the God, close or far away, makes no difference. The life of the baby is always going to be better. And it seems like my moral system can answer that clearly and get the answer pretty intuitively correct, whereas yours cannot.
Well, in our case, in 99% of cases, it's not like those two are opposed. And in the 1% of cases, I've told you that it's better to value the life of the baby in that case. So my moral system,
what do you mean?
Like 99% of cases, people don't think that it's better to, that you have to choose between loving God or loving babies. Like in normal cases, if you want to love God, you will have to develop certain moral
Again, that's
character
a
by
false
which.
dichotomy. That's not the point of the analogy. So that's not what I've been asking at all. It's a misrepresentation, a straw man. So the question is which is more good, valuing the life of the baby or valuing or a close relationship with a God? And it seems like the more good in your model is the relationship with a God, which I think is obviously wrong.
In my model, those two can't be. It's not like you can separate the two. Like
So
it's not like you
who's
have to
more
choose
moral? A
between.
Hare
It's
Krishna,
not.
who's more moral? A Hare Krishna who values a relationship with God, or an atheist who takes care of a baby?
Why would the Hare Krishna not take care of babies?
There's no babies around. So it's just in the forest. He just doesn't have any money or whatever. There's no babies near him, so he just doesn't have. He would if he could, because he believes in a relationship with God. But there's an actual atheist who's just an asshole who doesn't care about anybody, but he's taking care of the baby just out of obligation. But he's still a complete asshole. Doesn't care about God. Treats people like shit. But he's taking care of the baby. Which is more morally good?
So the Hare Krishna, he's like not an asshole. He likes other people. He likes to help other people. But the only vice he has is
just
that
like Josh. Just like Josh.
the only vice he has is he just doesn't have a baby to take care of.
Yeah, he's just too far away. He's in the forest or whatever. He's
Yeah.
meditating.
So the highest good is to take care of baby. Do you have any babies, Tom?
Dude, I would have killed the baby in the first round. In the first round.
Like, if this is your moral system, why don't you have like 20 kids right now? Like, you gotta get going.
Working on it. Just need like 20 wives. You have to convert to Mormonism or something.
Yeah, you're so sinful not having 20 babies to take care of right now.
I just want to point out that in Hare Krishna, there's a version where you can have more than one wife. Just throwing that in there for you.
So, but you see the point here. The taking care of the baby, even if it's by an asshole who has completely delusional or assholic beliefs, thinks God is a dick. He just hates Hare Krishna. He knows it. He thinks Hare Krishna is an asshole or whatever, and just curses his name every day, but takes care of the baby. Versus a Hare Krishna who really loves the Hare Krishna God, but just isn't around any babies or whatever. It seems to me obviously the more moral thing there is the asshole who's taking care of the baby, because what matters most is the life of the person, not the belief system. The belief system makes no difference at all. I mean, I don't care if the guy taking care of the baby was just Hitler, but a paraplegic, so he couldn't actually do anything. He would still be morally superior because he was taking care of the baby, regardless of his belief system.
I'm going to break up this clinch here. TJump's definitely winning this ground game on points at the moment. I'm going to throw you in the deep end, Adi Purusha. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna actually makes this exact argument to Krishna and says, we should not prosecute this battle because if we do, children will die. He says, that we're going to go out onto the battlefield, we're going to kill all these people, then their children will be unprotected, and then, the babies will die, Krishna. So therefore, I'm not going to fight. And then Krishna tells him, do it anyway. Which in TJump's universe is this exact moral problem. Arjuna is making this exact argument, save the babies, and then Krishna says, no, don't save the babies. Now, how are you going to deal with that?
So you sound the reincarnation of that guy from the Hare Krishna book.
Yeah,
right?
So in the Bhagavad Gita, it takes place in the Mahabharata, and in the Mahabharata, it's or the Bhagavatam actually specifically, everyone that fought in the battle basically gets liberation. So by Arjuna killing these warriors, they're actually they're seeing Krishna when they die, and they're going to Krishna when they die, and they're basically furthering their spiritual development. So Arjuna fighting in this case is actually beneficial for them because they're going to get a better destination after their death.
Okay, suppose you don't know what the consequences are afterwards. That's not, again, not relevant to the question. Or you could suppose that they won't be saved afterwards. Either way, you could say, should you say, I'm not going to go through with the battle because the baby's lives are more important than believing in you. I don't care if disagreeing with you causes me to lose my faith in you. I'm not going to do it because their lives are more important. Would saying that be the morally superior thing to do in that situation?
To disagree with Krishna in that case.
Yes.
In that case, it's immoral to disagree with Krishna because Krishna's plan is the one that maximizes the good, and by going against that plan, you're not maximizing the good.
So it's the morally wrong thing to do there is to save the babies. That's your answer.
In that very specific context, that doesn't reflect the majority of most circumstances. Yes.
Well, I mean, I think that I've kind of won at that point because I mean, obviously, there's moral questions don't apply universally to everything. There's always going to be lots of different cases to apply. But if you can give an example where a moral model gives a completely wrong answer, that's pretty good evidence that moral system does not have the correct foundation to assess moral questions. It
Well,
seems
how do you
like
know? How do you know that by killing them, they're not going back to the spiritual world and enjoying unlimited happiness?
because there's a better option. Just give them the choice. Like if we had a world where it was physically impossible for any being to force any other being to do anything they don't consent to, then that solves the problem. That world that I just described is morally superior to the one that supposedly Hare Krishna created. So the fact that there is a more moral option in that situation that was not done by the god proves that the god either isn't all good, isn't all powerful, or doesn't exist. And so the fact that there is a more moral option that was not taken by this god is what the problem of suffering is elucidating.
In the case I described, I mean, by Arjun killing these warriors in the battlefield, they get this unlimited happiness. I mean, your argument hasn't really shown that they're not getting higher happiness by going to Krishna's abode. You just sort of offered your own other moral system, but I have my moral system, you have your moral system.
Right. So my response would be you give them this option of being a part of this world that Hare Krishna designed where they have to fight this battle and then get unlimited happiness, or you can give them my world where they say, you have the choice. You can choose to go to this world of Hare Krishna and go through this battle and get the unlimited happiness, or you can go to a world of your own design. You can just skip straight to the unlimited happiness. My world seems morally superior because I'm giving them the option. Your world seems morally inferior because you're forcing them to go through this set of events without their choice. I mean, it seems clearly morally superior to give them the option of just saying, I want to be a part of this world and go through Hare Krishna's trials, or not. That seems to be a morally superior world.
Well, in the Hare Krishna world, Krishna gives everyone that option. But the problem is that people don't want to take that option. So if people don't want to take that option, then it's better to have some sort of karmic mechanisms in place where souls can learn that they want to choose that option rather than perpetually choose to not choose to be with God.
Well, again, my world is one where it's physically impossible for any being to force any other to do anything they don't consent to. So we clearly don't live in that world.
I guess the world that we have now is better than your world, I would argue, because it's so structured so that souls can be oriented towards the highest good. In your world, you know, there's nothing really impelling souls to have moral shaping lessons and come back to Krishna. Also, in the world I describe, keep in mind that the majority of souls do live in the spiritual world with Krishna. It's just a minority that are in this world itself, and these are the ones that have chosen to turn away from Krishna.
Right. So I still think it's morally superior, even if there's one soul. That wouldn't make a difference to my argument. So giving every single soul the option to choose their own world that they live in rather than forcing them to be in a part of a world they did not choose is morally superior. Like, it seems obviously immoral to force them to go through this series of events that are arbitrarily constructed by the god to appease his hedonistic goals, as opposed to giving each individual their free will to achieve their own goals in their own universe and just applying one extra rule. It's physically impossible to force any person to do anything they don't consent to. I mean, that one addition seems to make any world more moral inherently.
Well, in our world, it's not like souls are forced in any circumstances. They reap the fruits of their karma. So everything they experience is due to their own free will. They get a bad reaction or something, it's because they've done some action and they've warranted that as a negative consequence.
So again, that's the immoral consequences, things you don't have a choice in kind of a thing that's immoral. So making a world.
Why is it immoral to have a reaction to your actions so that you can learn to improve your
because you didn't
character?
choose to do it. You're being forced to do it against your will. So it would be more moral to give people the option to say, would you like to be a part of this system where you make mistakes and then you're punished for your mistakes in order to learn this blah, 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 blah. And I would say, nope, I want to go to my own world. So that would be a more moral system than just forcing them into this world of karma where they have to learn whether they choose to or not.
I think it's far more moral to have a system where you can actually be rectified and learn learn spiritual lessons and learn to improve your character over time.
Well, but remember, my model has that too. It's just optional. So people can say, would you like to be a part of this model that the Hare Krishna God designed? Yes or no. And so they can say yes, and they get all of the benefits of that model, or they can say no and say, I don't really want to do that. That's the only difference here, is that I'm saying I have everything in your model, including the God. Hare Krishna God can exist in my model perfectly fine, has his own universe designed however he wants, and you can choose to be a part of it. Or you can choose to not be a part of it. You can go be a part of the Christian God, or you can go be a part of your own world in the Matrix or whatever. That's the only difference here. So anything in your model is going to be in mine too, because I'm just saying your model is one of the options.
Okay, so in your model, there's a certain group of souls that choose they want to be with God, and they go to be with God, right?
Yeah, the Hare Krishna God. So there's a bunch of Hare Krishna souls who say, we want to go be a part of the Hare Krishna, the universe.
Okay, so in our framework, we also have those souls. So we're equal on those fronts. Then the question is, what about the souls that choose they don't want to be with God, right?
So yeah, they can choose, I want to be a part of the Hare Krishna universe, but I don't give a crap about Hare Krishna. I'm going to turn away from him, and then he can do whatever he chooses to me at that point.
Yeah, so I would say that that's not a better world, because if you live in this type of universe where you're away from God, you're not experiencing as much happiness as if you were with God. So
Well, remember,
it's better.
So I value choice over happiness. So the amount of happiness makes no difference to me. I think it's the choice supersedes that in every case.
So let's say
my initial example was, would it be moral to force someone into a world of perfect hedonism where they just had joy or whatever? Or would it be more moral to give them the option and say, you could go to this perfect world or you could go somewhere else? Like, I obviously think it's more moral to give them the option rather than forcing them into the hedonistic world, because the choice is better than the good, the pleasure.
I would say that if you can have happiness and choice, that's better than a world in which you just have choice.
If you have choice, how can you not have the choice to be happy? That doesn't make any sense, because it's
like in our model, you have both. You have the freedom to choose to serve and love Krishna, and you get the happiness that comes with it.
Well, right. So I mean, like, if you have the choice, then necessarily you also have the happiness as an option.
And
so
like, let's say, okay, let's
have
say
the choice and not have the happiness as one of the choices. So obviously, any model that has choice will also have the happiness as one of the options.
Yeah, maybe I used this example before. So let's say you have two options. One, you have the choice of having some really good and delicious ice cream. And another choice is they have a choice to eat this like nasty stale potato chip that's been in your couch for like 3 years. So which would you rather choose? What would make you more happier?
I don't know. Probably, I don't know. I like the potato chips stuck in the couch. They fermented very nicely, but let's go with the cake. What would the other option?
Ice cream. Okay,
Ice
so
cream.
let's just say it's objectively like or it's just objectively more fulfilling and more happiness for everyone to choose the ice cream than it is to choose the potato chip.
Sure.
So if it necessarily brings more happiness to enjoy that ice cream rather than the potato chip, you would think that it would be better to choose to eat the ice cream than it would be to choose to eat the potato chip.
No.
Why is that? Why is it not better to choose to have the ice cream, which is going to necessarily make you happier than it is to choose the potato chip?
Because I think it's up to each individual's choice. I think regardless of what they choose, whatever they choose is what's better. So I think it's better that they choose what they want to choose, regardless of what it is. I don't think, like, if someone chooses the potato chip, I don't think it would have been better if they had chosen the ice cream. I think they should have the right to choose what they choose, and that's what's better.
Okay, so let's replace the potato chip with like dog poop.
Same thing. I'd say if they want to pick the dog poop, they should have the moral right to do so. I think that's morally superior than if their choice to eat whatever is their choice. But I think the choice is what's morally superior.
What about if it's a choice between ice cream or killing a baby?
No imposition on other wills. That's immoral. So it can't be that. For it to be a valid example, counterexample, it has to be two mundane, non-immoral actions. Can't be an immoral action.
What about if I say to you, you either have to take Adi Purusha's ice cream off him and eat it, or I'll kill a baby? Now what are you going to do?
Depends. Is he going to do a little dance for me first?
But what about that? What about that situation though, where you're placed in a situation where you have to like either commit one immoral action, imposing your will on Adi Purusha by snatching his ice cream out of his hand and eating it, or I'm going to kill a baby. How do you
Well, both would be
resolve that?
immoral. So in my model, both are immoral. It just shows that this world is not the perfect world because we have to choose between two immoral actions. But I would just choose the lesser immoral action, which would be taking his ice cream.
Okay, so we're kind of been touching on a number of different aspects of this problem here. What I'd like to get from each of you is a very clear-cut, crisp definition of what is evil.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. I can start. So I'd
Sorry,
say
yeah.
I define evil as an involuntary imposition of will. That's how I define it. Clear, crisp definition.
Involuntary imposition. Okay. Well, I guess how scholars define evil is like a bird being trapped in a burning forest or some really horrific event. I would say that there's ultimately no evil per se. Everything that happens is to orient you towards deepening your relationship with God. Even if it's bad at the time, it will somehow teach you some sort of lessons. Like let's say it's let's say you get punched in the face. Like normally we would think, oh, that's a bad thing to happen. But let's say by getting punched in the face, you learn to develop sensitivity and you learn to realize that, okay, getting punched in the face hurts. Like I realize I shouldn't do it to others, so I'm not going to get violent and punch people anymore. If the getting punched in the face can teach you a moral lesson, then even though it's externally bad, I'd argue that it's good in the long run. So I would sort of say that there's ultimately no suffering. Everything is meant to teach us some lesson and guide us towards God, even if it seems bad at the moment.
So what was your definition of evil?
I said that there
So like
essentially
you would define evil as something that goes against the nature of God or something like that. So there isn't any because it can't really do that.
Yeah, I guess there's no really no real evil. Everything is ultimately for the good. Josh, you
Sorry, did you just say that there is no evil?
yeah,
Yeah, you said that twice.
the things that we perceive as evil are ultimately to orient us to the greater good. So they're not evil in itself. They're ultimately for the better.
So Hitler not evil, not a problem, right? That's the moral because he's leading us toward God, so not evil.
Well, people can be evil, I guess. So okay,
So there is evil.
so Hitler choosing to kill all those people is obviously evil. But in the grand scheme of things, the things that transpired, we would say were ultimately for the greater good.
I like this. We've gone from like killing babies to like Adolf Hitler, Godwin's law. But now, Adi Purusha, you're like, yay, that's good. You didn't want to kill the baby, but you're like, Hitler, yep, not evil.
Well, Hitler's evil.
I would have killed the baby first and then kind of escalated from there, but you've just gone like right in at the deep end. I love it. Let's see you defend this.
Okay, so Hitler's obviously bad for doing those things to those people. But why is it well,
so how would you define evil? That was Josh's original question. So there is evil. If it's evil,
yeah.
How?
Okay, so I guess maybe I want to draw a distinction between evil and suffering also. So suffering, I guess, is what I was getting at with evil initially. The things, suffering is ultimately for the better. Even if it's painful at the time, it leads us to the greater good for some reason or other. Evil is like a quality of a person. So someone is morally evil if they wish to inflict harm upon others, or to steal, or to rape, or to do any sort of number of sinful activities.
Okay, so what's a worse universe? One where there's a bunch of paraplegics who have desires to harm other people, or a bunch of universes where there's only one person who wants to harm other people, and he actually does, though. Which one's more immoral?
Paraplegics are the one guy that's actually able to. I guess there's obviously more pain and suffering caused by the second person.
Yeah, so like the universe with one guy who desires evil versus like a million who desire evil. So it seems like the consequences are what makes something immoral, not the desires.
Both are wrong. It's not
But you
an
would
either
agree
or.
that the actions are what's more immoral than the desires, because the fact that he actually hurts somebody is that's a worse universe, a more immoral universe than the one where they just desire it, right?
Actions or the desires, which one's more? I don't know if I can give it like a clear-cut response.
Well, my response is yes, the actions will always be more immoral than the desires. So just to contrast our two epistemologies.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the desire to do evil itself, or the desire to do harm, is itself an evil. I mean, depends how much harm this one person does. Depends on the extent to which these paraplegics are evil. I guess it's.
Well, I mean, so like just imagine they have the worst possible desires of whatever you want to label that as, and there's one universe where a guy just doesn't like his family or whatever and just kills one of his nephews or something, and that's it, and there's no other evil. Everyone else is just perfect and doesn't desire anything wrong, essentially. So those are just the two contrasted universe. One where one person kills another person, and another universe where everyone desires the worst possible desires but just can't do anything about it.
Yeah, so I guess let's say it's not even compare a world for view paraplegic. Let's say there's one paraplegic who's like the most evil person imaginable. Like if he had the option, he would just like nuke the whole world and kill everyone in the most violent and painful way possible. And let's say there's another person who's not a paraplegic and he's not totally evil, but he's like fairly evil. Like he hates someone and he murdered him, and but he's not evil enough to want to just like painfully torture every human in existence. But I would say that the paraplegic is more evil in his moral character than the other person, although the person who kills the person does more evil actions.
So yeah, in my worldview, it's just obviously the more evil is the harm to the other person. So again, the beliefs have no value to morality whatsoever. You can just write them off. Even if you have a billion of these paraplegics who are perfectly evil, that universe will never be more evil on using my metric. The universe where someone dies without their consent is always going to be more evil, because the impact on the person's will is what's important. The life of the baby is more important than the beliefs. The life of the person is more important than the beliefs. In my worldview, my assessment of morality is that beliefs do not matter at all. They're not relevant to morality. The only thing that is relevant to morality is the consequences to the lives of an individual, an involuntary imposition of will.
Did you just
So
say
if someone wanted
a universe where people die without their consent is evil?
Yes.
Doesn't everybody in this universe die without their consent, and therefore this universe is purely evil?
Well, not everybody does. There is suicide. That is a thing. But
Jack
yes.
So suicide is a greater moral good than dying a natural death.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's less immoral. So like, but usually the reasons you want to commit suicide are also immoral. So like you've been through a life of suffering, which is usually more immoral, and ending that suffering is usually a moral good, like euthanasia. If you've been through a lot of suffering and because of life in the universe and someone's going to help you end it, that's actually a moral good, as opposed to someone just living out their life and then dying of old age. Their death of old age is morally bad, but their
this is
life
good.
is good.
This is good. But TJump, I didn't consent to being born. So therefore,
Yes.
Is it not more morally good for everybody in the universe to commit suicide because they didn't consent to being born in this evil universe?
No, that would not follow. So the argument is that like in this world, it's immoral for all the things that happen to you without your consent, like aging, death, rocks falling on you, broken limbs. If you didn't consent to that, that makes, yes, this whole world is evil and terrible. Reality is a bitch, and we should definitely fight against it. The greatest enemy to all humanity is nature, and we need to overcome it. That is the goal of humanity. And so, yes, this world is horribly immoral, and we should, that's kind of the whole point of the problem of evil and suffering, and we should try to overcome it. And the best way to overcome it is to create a world where there is no involuntary imposition of will that would overcome all of the evil. But yeah, so I definitely think aging is immoral. I think there's a great video by, I think it's Nick Bostrom of the giant black dragon, which is articulating this in a great way, that we've come to a society where we just accepted that tens of thousands of people die every day, and we just have to sacrifice them to this black dragon, and it's become normalized, and we don't realize how evil it is until we've come to the idea that we can actually cure this. We can kill the black dragon and people won't die anymore. And that'll be one of the greatest discoveries of mankind, like penicillin or something to eradicate AIDS. Just that will be the greatest saving of human lives ever. And it'll be seen as the most moral discovery in human history because it saves the most lives. So yeah, death is horribly immoral if we didn't consent to it. It's probably the most immoral thing that could occur. And it's a part of nature. And so the immoral thing is either nature or whoever created nature.
So you're saying birth also is immoral because there's no consent to being born in the world?
No. So you can't consent or not consent to something if you don't exist. So creating someone to exist is not immoral. That's perfectly fine. It's what happens after that's either moral or immoral. So if they have no will and then you create a will, obviously you didn't impose on their will at that point. But after they have a will, that's when, if you're forcing them to do things they don't consent to, that's when it becomes immoral. So babies, you can, like, I'm not an antinatalist, so it's perfectly fine to create a human life. What's immoral is what the world does to it after that. That's the immoral thing.
Okay, so kind of to summarize your positions, TJump, you say the universe is fundamentally immoral because it basically is an imposition or a massive set of impositions on the will of the living entities. And Adi Purusha, you say that evil doesn't exist.
I guess people can be evil, but suffering, all the suffering is oriented towards the greater good, but people can be evil.
So I'm a nihilist. He's a masochist, something like that.
It does kind of sound that way. Or Adi Purusha is conceding that God is evil.
Yeah,
I'm not conceding that God is evil.
So, well, if you look at it from my perspective, where you're saying suffering is actually good because it leads us to a more closer relationship with God, and I'm saying, no, forcing me to suffer just for that ends is horribly immoral. You monster! How could you do that? So, from the perspective of someone like me, it is, yeah, that would definitely prove that the God would be immoral because he's causing you to suffer without your consent for his goals, which is slavery. You are forced to suffer and work towards his goals without your consent.
Well, it's not really like he's forcing you. Like I said, there's karma, so you're choosing your own suffering.
Can I choose to not be a part of karma and go to my own universe?
You can choose to act righteously, so you don't have to get any negative consequences.
Can I choose to go to my own universe and not be affected by karma?
You can choose to act piously and take a better birth.
Not the question. You're evading the question. Can I go to my own universe? I don't want to be a part of this karmic system anymore. I want to be away from the karma. I don't like the karma. I don't like being forced to be a part of this. Can I go to my own universe and not be a part of karma anymore?
Yeah, we have this thing called the Brahmajyoti. You can basically choose to just be free of, you don't have to serve God. You don't have to live in this world. You can just sort of exist in your own, do your own thing. That option is actually available to you also.
Can I go to my own universe where I don't die of old age and I can have millions of dollars and play video games all day?
I mean, there might be some universes like that.
Isn't that basically your life, TJump? Like right now?
Yeah.
No, my life is constant suffering. I've had major depression my entire life and constant desire to kill myself. So no, definitely not.
Have you tried
if
being a theist?
I was theist for most of my life. It had the opposite effect. But if your God was all good, and the option he would give us would be the option for me to snap my fingers and go to my own universe that I designed, to go out of his system, be like, no, I don't want to be a part of this crap system anymore. I'm going to go to my own system with my own universe and just escape all the karma nonsense. And that would be the moral option. Giving us a choice between his options is like saying a Nazi telling the Jew, would you like the gas chamber or the firing squad? That's not a choice. That's immoral. And so saying that, well, I have a choice of living in this world that God designed as I don't know the exact name you said because I don't know Hindu language very well, or I have the option of being good, or I have the option of being and reaping the rewards of karma, or being bad and reaping the punishments of karma. Those are all options of gas chamber or firing squad. Like that, those aren't my choices. Those are your choices that you are forcing on me without my consent. The moral thing to do would be allow me to go to my own universe with my own rules and say, yeah, I can either choose to be a part of this world that Hare Krishna has designed, or I can just opt out and be like, nah, I'm going to stick in my own universe. That system sucks.
Well, first of all, it's not firing squad or gas chamber. Like it, under God's system, you choose what you get. So you can choose ice cream, or you can choose stool, or like crap, dog poop.
I want to choose $1 billion in my bank account tomorrow. Can I choose that?
You can.
Okay, how do I do that? That would be a great testable prediction. If I can do that, I'll convert to Hare Krishna.
It's just chanting the mantra, Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
says
Hare
that,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
yeah,
Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare for 2 years. Then you'll get it.
not
No, I
even
said
2 years,
tomorrow.
actually.
I said
Not even 2 years.
tomorrow.
Krishna says if you do a little bit of devotional service, your next birth, you get to take birth on the heavenly
Next
planets.
birth. Oh, great. That helps me so much. Next birth. Yeah, that's like the after I die, I'll go to heaven kind of a thing. Get all the virgins from Islam or whatever. You know, it's got to be in the lifetime. So tomorrow.
You also made a post-dated prediction there, just saying I live in the future and we're not able to upload people's consciousness into virtual universes where they can do anything or have anything yet.
Well, you live in a backwater country that's like all desert and monsters and stuff. Ugh.
Black dragons.
Yeah, like dragons, like literal dragons. But the moral thing to do here, clearly, if there was a morally good God, he would give you the option to just go to your own universe where you have $1 billion in your bank account, where you don't die of old age. The fact that you are stuck in this world and you have to play by his rules is the firing squad or the gas chamber. I have to choose between I'm going to wake up tomorrow and feel pain from being sore, or wake up tomorrow and feel pain from being fat. Those are my choices, firing quad or gas chamber. I don't have the option of just going to my own universe and having it set the way I want, which would be the moral option. The moral option is giving people the choice, not forcing people to live in a world under rules set by a different God to appease its goals without their consent.
I agree. McDonald's is completely immoral. You walk in there and there's like a set limit of options you can choose. It's evil, pure evil.
No, because McDonald's is owned by McDonald's. And so you voluntarily choose to be a part of their system. And in their system, they give you a set limit of options. If it was your house and you wanted an unlimited amount of options and reality didn't let you do it, then that would be immoral. So reality and Hare Krishna is the problem. You should be able to have a McDonald's and a Wendy's and everything in your backyard at all times.
Reality is evil.
Reality is evil.
Yeah, so you do have that option. You can go to the Brahma Jyoti, but
again, if I can't go to my own universe and set it exactly how I want right now, that's an immoral God. So if I can't snap my fingers, go to my own universe, take off suffering and old age and karma and just cast it away exactly this second, then your God is immoral.
Actually, this raises some interesting questions. So how do you even ground morality under your system if there's no God?
Choice.
But how is that objectively true?
Sorry. Yeah, that's so morality in a naturalistic system is a higher order emergent property, kind of like fitness. So you have fitness is a property of animals and a relationship between their physical bodies and the physical environments and how they can interact. Morality is the same kind of a thing, but instead fitness is describing the interaction between the organism and the environment. Morality is describing the interaction between agents and an environment. So it's a higher order emergent property, is how it's grounded in moral naturalism.
So if humans didn't exist, would there be objective moral principles out there?
Sure. Just like fitness would exist even if there weren't any animals, because fitness is just describing how animals would interact with the environment. So it's like saying,
why is that objectively true under naturalism?
Seems
like it's your just subjective thing that you've agreed upon as being moral, but how is that objectively true?
It's like saying there's objectively a triangle has 3 sides, even if there are no triangles. Like there's no actual triangles in the universe, but a triangle still has 3 sides. It's just a description of a relationship of properties of the universe. So the universe has properties. Whether or not those properties are being interacted with doesn't mean they're still objective. So even if there was no objects to warp space-time, gravity would still be objective. Doesn't actually matter if there are things there to warp gravity. It's still going to be there.
Okay, so under your view, morals basically are synonymous with fitness.
No. Fitness is an analogy. Fitness is a kind of higher order emergent property. Morality is a different kind of higher order emergent property. Health is a different kind of higher order emergent property. There's tons of different higher order emergent properties that are not related in any way. A higher order emergent property is just a class of a thing that is kind of like an abstract object. So it's easier to think of it as a law of nature like gravity. Morality is like a law of nature like gravity.
Okay, so it's like a law of nature like gravity that's out there, and I guess it's not for us to make, but for us to discover.
Yes.
Okay, so how are you sure that the morality that objectively out there is the one you're describing?
you can't be sure of anything, but you discover it the same way you discover any scientific facts. You look at phenomenon. We look at the phenomenon of moral intuition, moral progress. We try to see a pattern in the phenomenon. We plot out the effects of these phenomenon, and then we infer, if we follow this pattern to its conclusion, what do we get? And how do we create a principle to describe this pattern? And the principle I use is any involuntary imposition will is immoral. And to confirm it, I would make testable predictions about how in the future people will see rocks as falling on people as immoral. That's like one of my predictions. And if my predictions are correct, then that's good evidence that my understanding of morality is more correct than anybody else's. So it's the same as science. You see a phenomenon, create principles to describe the pattern, make predictions, confirm the predictions, but you're never certain. It's only probabilistic.
But TJump, the universe is fundamentally immoral.
Yes, it is.
So what meaning is there to any morality within the universe? It's like saying, a choice between, ice cream or fruit salad for dinner in the death camp.
Right. So if the universe was like perfectly moral, this wouldn't happen, but it's obviously not perfectly moral. So like if the universe was perfectly like instantiation of gravity, then everything would be collapsed together and it would just be a perfect ball of singularity. So this force of gravity that we see, or morality that we see in the universe, isn't ultimate. It doesn't force everything to abide by it, just like gravity doesn't force everything to be collapsed into a ball. It's just a thing that is there that affects the universe, but it doesn't determine everything in the universe. So there's obviously things that are immoral because it goes against this law, essentially. Just like there's things that go against gravity, like expanding space-time. So this law is like any other law. It doesn't force everything to exist or to abide by it. It just affects some things to some degree.
I guess actually I wanted to return to the point about the ice cream and the dog poop.
Yes, let's go back to that.
Of course you would.
It's not really clear to me why choosing the dog poop is better just because you choose it. I think it makes more sense that it would be better to choose the ice cream than it would be to choose the dog poop.
I think that's obviously wrong. Like to say that if someone chose,
it's obviously wrong to choose ice cream over dog poop.
No, I say it's obviously wrong to say that it's more good to choose ice cream over dog poop. For example, if someone wants to choose dog poop, like suppose there's a scientist and the scientist says, I'd like to research dog poop, and then it's like, and the universe just gives them a pop-up that says, choose one free item, ice cream or dog poop. They have the choice to choose the dog poop, and that's good. Like they should be able to choose that, and that would be more.
But them choosing the dog poop is going to objectively make them less happy than if they chose the ice cream.
Well, again, it wouldn't matter if it made them happy or not.
No, it does. That's fundamentally evil, that they have no choice, that they can't say, I want the universe to be such that I enjoy eating dog poop. You can't choose that. You just have this preference that's enforced on you by this evil God who forces you to like ice cream. It's evil.
Yes, like if we lived in a perfectly moral world, you could change your brain so that you could like eating dog poop. That would be perfectly fine. And you could make it so that the biological consequences didn't occur and it'd be perfectly fine.
Exactly.
That would be the morally superior world to this one. Yes, for sure.
The fact that humans like ice cream is evidence that God is evil.
The fact that humans can't choose not to like ice cream would be evidence that God is evil. But
I'm convinced.
Again, Exactly. So clearly you've become an atheist. Congratulations, Josh.
Oh no, I've become convinced that God is evil. I'm into it.
Okay,
I like listening to Slayer, Death. This is like, I'm loving this. I'm into it.
So the option to choose is more morally good than the choice itself. So the fact that someone would choose dog poo is a better option if that's what they chose. It isn't better that someone chose ice cream just because it's ice cream. The choice is inherently more moral than what the choice is.
So let's say there's something that objectively gives you 10 million units of happiness and something that gives you like 1 unit of happiness, or like negative 1 million units of happiness. In every case, even though there's one thing that objectively gives you more happiness, it's better to choose the thing that...
the fact that happiness exists is evil.
No,
right.
So the happiness is irrelevant. Like your choice supersedes that. If you choose the suffering, that is better. And if you choose the happiness, that's better. The better is whatever you choose. Your choice is the better option, regardless of whether it's the more happiness or the less happiness.
Okay, so let's say you're walking down the street and then you happen to see an ice cream cone and you happen to see some dog poop, and you were like, huh, which one's better? I don't know. And I was to tell you, whoa, whoa, whoa. If you eat the ice cream, you're going to be way, way happier. And if you eat the dog poop, you're going to be way, way less happy. So
Can we have an evil paraplegic holding the ice cream? Let's bring the evil
the
paraplegics back.
The answer would be the same thing. The amount of happiness is irrelevant. It doesn't matter how much happiness it will bring you or not. The better option is the choice. Like you having the choice, regardless of whether or not it's a choice to do good or bad, or choice to do more happiness, less happiness, that is better. That itself is better. The actual choice you make doesn't make a difference at all. That's purely just your choice. Like you can choose the dog poo if you want. That's the better option if it's your choice. The outcome isn't what makes something good. It's the choice that makes something good. So like if I chose my own universe where I wanted to be a part of, it's like playing a video game. So there are certain video games that are very fun and easy and pleasant and don't take any effort at all. And there are certain video games that are extremely hard and a pain and cause you to throw your controller at the wall. And I have the choice. I can play either of those games. My choice to choose the video game that I throw the controller at the wall, even though it's going to bring me a lot more suffering, is good because I chose it. Even if it will never bring me as much happiness as the pleasant little video game that takes no effort at all, it's still good for me to have the option to choose the suffering rather than just choosing the thing that brings me more joy.
But the existence of choice itself is evil. Basically, your argument reduces down to existence is evil, because if choice exists, I have to choose one thing or the other, and I'm forced to choose.
Nope. If choice exists, you can choose to make it so you're automatically just made decisions at random. So you can choose to not choose. That's an option if you have choice.
But isn't the ultimate morality then that I can choose everything simultaneously at once? I can eat the dog poop and the ice cream. As soon as you create a dichotomy between two different things, it's immoral. It's evil.
No, it's the only dichotomy is choice versus no choice. So if you want to choose everything, like make your universe a round square where you literally do everything at once, that's your choice. You can go for it. That's fine. The only immoral thing is an involuntary imposition of will. So if the universe is stopping you from doing something that you want to do against your consent, that would be immoral. Everything else is fine. So choice is fine. Existence is fine. If you don't care if people pick up rocks, picking up rocks is fine. So it's just any involuntary imposition of will is immoral.
But I don't choose choice though. You're forcing me to have the existence of choice as an ontological thing. It's immoral.
Same with existence. So
exactly,
causing someone to exist is not a violation of their will, so it's not immoral. So having choice isn't a violation of their will, and
it is. You're forcing me to live in a universe where there's this thing called choice. I don't want it.
No, if you wanted that, you could turn it off. So that's not. So I'm not forcing you to do that. You can turn it off. You can literally sell yourself as a slave to someone else and have no choice at all if you want to in this universe. You have the choice. So it's not a requirement there. It's not an involuntary position of will. You can choose this.
I'm kind of stealing Adi Purusha's show here, but I'm getting enrolled in this. I'm testing it out. I'm saying, should I convert to this thing? I'm not sure where I sign up to join.
Takes $1 million to TJump Patreon, and you get to like the level 10 of the best possible worlds.
So I guess in your view, then, a world in which everyone is eating dog poop is no better than a world in which someone could maybe say, hey, you'd be happier if, or sorry, no, it's, okay, so let's say there's world one.
I get what you're, so a world where everyone has the choice to eat dog poo and is eating dog poo is morally superior or is morally equivalent to a world where everyone has the choice to eat ice cream and eats ice cream. Those are exactly the same if it's their choice and they choose it.
Well, what I'm getting at, so world one is a world where you have the choice between ice cream and dog poop, but someone persuades you to freely choose the ice cream. But in your view, that's not any better of a world in which people just choose to eat dog poop.
Right. So like what I said is like if you have two worlds, one and in both worlds, everybody has a choice between dog poo and ice cream. And in one world, everybody chooses the dog poo freely. And in one world, everybody chooses the ice cream freely. Both of those worlds are exactly morally the same. Like there's no moral difference between those worlds. One is not better than the other. If they all freely chose one or the other, it's right for them to do whatever they chose to do. Like their choice is superior to the outcome of the choice. The choice,
even if they're really unhappy by having chosen the poop over the ice cream.
Yes, if you choose, you can be unhappy, like in my video game model. I can pick a video game that really hurts me and pisses me off and causes me to throw my controller for days and days and days. That is my choice. That is morally superior than whether or not I chose an easy video game that makes me happy all the time. Again, the choice is what's more important than the outcome.
So there's some agent that convinces you to choose the ice cream over the dog poop, and that agent is basically has no moral. He's not moral at all. He isn't really
right.
moral.
So it would only be moral if I wanted help and they helped me. So a moral thing would be if an agent, if like I was, I want to be convinced not to eat the dog food, and then someone convinces me, that would be moral, but only if I prior wanted that to occur. So a moral action is a voluntary assistance of will. But just convincing someone one thing or the other makes no moral difference whatsoever. Like convincing someone to believe the earth is round or convincing someone to believe the earth is flat makes no difference. It's pragmatic. Like if someone here on earth is, I want to invest stocks or whatever, and you convince them to go to a good stock rather than a bad stock, is only good because there's consequences in the world, independence that they want, that they don't have control over. So you're helping them mitigate this third party kind of a system. But if they know full well what the consequences are, like eating poo, and they know what poo tastes like essentially, and they still choose it, they're perfectly fine. That universe is exactly as good as a universe full of people who picked ice cream. There's no difference there. The consequences don't make a difference. The choice is what matters.
The earth is flat, by the way. It's a different debate, though.
It's actually a cube, but anyway.
We have hit 11:30, and we've got a lot of chat happening here. Are you guys okay to go to responding to some of these messages from people?
Sure, sounds good to me.
Okay, check it out. Boom. This happened like a long time ago. It's been going off. Over 100 messages in here.
Wow.
And there are some real good ones. Let's pull some of these in. Okay, this one here I think is this one's for you, TJump.
42.
Okay, there you go. 42. So
can you guys actually
let's
read that? Do you guys know how to read Hindu?
Yeah, that's Bhagavad Gita verse 247.
Oh,
I
was off by 5. God damn.
I know, right?
What does that actually mean, Adi Purusha?
You have the right to perform your actions, but you're not entitled to the results.
Immoral.
Evil. There are some real good ones in here. Let me find one for you. There's a flying spaghetti pink unicorn. Practical use for dog poop.
Yes, you're cold. You may need it, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Or you might be lactose intolerant and you need fertilizer.
No, you have to eat the dog poop, though.
Well, what goes in must come out, right? I think that's
what he's implying. So lactose intolerant, and he needs it for some food source, and the only other options are lactose food sources. So I think he was implying that you eat it there. That's the lactose intolerant part.
Now, there was a real good point in here. It was from Arpit Sarkar. Here we go. What about this one? If an involuntary imposition of will is what's evil, then stopping a child from cheating in an exam is evil.
Yep. That's totally nothing wrong with cheating at all. Cheating is purely a pragmatic thing. So, for example, a better example would be like stopping a child from running into the street. Like doing that would also be immoral in my model. The reason it would be immoral is that there is a better option. Like there is a better option to stopping a child from cheating, which is
letting him die.
Yes, letting them die because they don't cheat. But so the fact.
So wait. Let's. So if a child's going to run into the street and die, it's more immoral to stop them than to save their life.
No, it would be both are immoral. So stopping them is immoral, and letting them run in the street and get hit by the car is immoral. Obviously, them dying is more immoral, so you would stop them from going into the street, which would be the less immoral action. But it's obviously not the moral action, because the moral action would involve no involuntary imposition on them whatsoever, which would be like making them turn into a ghost. And so ethereal, essentially. And so when they ran into the street, the car just passed through them, nothing happened. So that would be a more moral option than stopping them physically from running into the street. And so there's obviously a more moral option in this situation. Same with the cheating. Like, I don't think cheating is immoral at all. It's purely pragmatic. But a more moral option would be just to give them the answers to the test, or give everyone the answers to the test, or give them the degrees so they don't have to go through the test in the first place. Those would all be more moral options.
TJump for president 2024.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I like how you went from like not killing babies to like they want to run in the street, let them die.
No, you don't let them die. That's the most immoral option in there. You make them turn into a ghost.
You only have two. Like, let's do a thought experiment. You only have two options. Either you save the child by stopping them, or you let them run to the street and they die.
Yeah, you stop them, but that's the less immoral action.
But under your view, it's moral to prevent anyone from doing what they want. But what they want to do is cross the street. So isn't that immoral?
Yeah. Come
Yes,
on, man.
I
Why are you
said
harshing their mellow?
Remember, it is immoral to stop them, but it's less immoral than if they get hit by the car, because they also don't want to get hit by the car.
But that's got nothing to do with you, though. That's on them. Why are you imposing your will on them? You don't want them to die, so now you're going to go and commit evil. That's evil.
So the options are you impose your will on them, or nature imposes on their will. So nature's imposition on their will is going to be the car hits them and they die. So that's a very big imposition on their will. Or you stop them, which is a very small imposition on their will. Both are immoral. So you have to choose one of the immoral actions.
But one of them is you being immoral. The other one is the universe being immoral, which we've already established it is. It's evil. But now you're going to go and double down on that and become evil yourself?
Well, you're not doubling down on that. You're mitigating the evil of nature. So, for example, the trolley problem. Trolley problem says there's a trolley burying down the tracks. There's 5 people it's going to hit. And you can flip the switch and hit and make it go down the other track, in which case it's going to hit one person. Then
I want to be able to kill all of them.
Of course you do, Josh.
It's evil to make me choose.
Yes, you should
choose
both.
Okay. So what if there's someone that wants to kill the child? And you have to choose between it. You have a dilemma. Like, either you stop the guy from killing the child, and then that's immoral because you're stopping him from doing what he wants, or you stop the child from. Wait, hold on.
No, it's good. It's good. Someone put this in here. Here it is. I found it. This is the thought experiment that you're creating right now. Hitler says, "I want to kill all the Jews."
Yeah.
Hey, you're stopping what I want to do. That's evil.
Yep. So involuntary imposition of will only applies to yourself and your universe. So you can't will to do something to someone else's will. That is not that is by definition an involuntary imposition of their will, but it would not be an involuntary imposition of your will to not be able to do that because it's their will. So it has to be involuntary imposition of your will specifically, which only refers to yourself and your universe. So it's not moral to help someone to harm someone else unless that someone else consents to it. So you would not help Hitler to kill the Jews or help someone to kill the baby. That would be an involuntary imposition of will of the baby or the Jews. It would only be moral if they willed something only relating to them, the self and their universe, not someone else. You can't will to restrict someone else's will. That wouldn't count as an involuntary imposition of your will because
restricting someone else's will.
Yes, so an involuntary imposition of will is immoral, but it's only an involuntary imposition if it's regarding your will. If it's regarding their will, then for it to be an involuntary imposition, they would have to not agree to it, not you.
Well, Hitler doesn't want you to stop him.
Right, but we're talking about the Jews here. So whether Hitler wants...
We're talking about Hitler right now.
Right, so Hitler wants to kill the Jews, but the Jews don't want to be killed. So for it to be an involuntary imposition of your will, then the Jews are the ones who are relevant here, not Hitler. So again, involuntary imposition of your will means that the Jews would have to choose to allow it to be killed by Hitler for it to be moral. Because again, involuntary imposition only applies to your will and your universe. So if you wanted to pick up a rock, perfectly fine. If you wanted to pick up somebody else, that wouldn't work. That's not an involuntary imposition of your will if they say no, because it's their will that's relevant here.
But in the universe that we live in, the actual one where we're discussing the problem of evil, Hitler wants to kill the Jews. They presumably don't want to be killed. You got a conflict of wills here.
Yes. It's called
and
prison.
In terms of the triumph of the will, what are you going to do about it? You're going to impose your will?
Like obviously you stop Hitler. So
that's evil. That's evil.
Yes. forcibly stopping someone against their consent is evil. Yes, it is immoral, and there is a more moral option. Like, for
Which
example,
is to just not impose your will on him and let him do his thing.
well, no, the more moral option would be to teleport the Jews or to make them into ghosts so Hitler can't touch them. That would be the more moral thing, because then you're
I
not
love how
imposing
your
on Hitler.
solution is making people into ghosts. It's like, isn't that what Hitler wanted to do to them in the first place?
Not kill their bodies. We're talking like Matrix here, where you can like personal force fields. They all get personal force fields, and they can't be killed by Hitler. So that's the more moral option. You give everyone personal force fields, and so Hitler can't do anything to them. So you're not imposing on Hitler's will by stopping him, and you're assisting the Jews' will by helping them. So the more moral option is when there's no involuntary imposition of will. So if you don't, we obviously can't do that in this world. So we have to physically stop Hitler, which is immoral. We're going to put him in prison, but that is the least immoral option rather than letting the Jews die. And so we choose that. But there's obviously a more moral option, which is give all the Jews personal force fields so Hitler can't do anything to them.
Sounds a little bit impractical. I mean, I get it.
We're talking about the best of all possible worlds here. So it's not meant to be practical.
Okay.
It's meant to be objective. And then we try to like work backwards and see, well, what's the best we can do with our limitations? Put Hitler in prison, best option, least imposition of will. That's what we do pragmatically.
Okay, so your solution to this is in a hypothetical universe, we make the Jews into ghosts, and then the problem goes away. And Adi Purusha, for you say evil doesn't exist. So how do you deal with that?
I mean, obviously, we should stop people from trying to harm others. But I mean, if people get a result due to their karma that has somehow or other that karmic reaction is meant to benefit them.
So the great Asthenian just asked a question. The brand new one. If the kid wants to get by a truck, why are you immoral in stopping him? Because there's a more moral option. It's the fact that if you were all powerful, what could you do here that would have the least imposition of will? Would it be physically stopping the kid? No, that would be an imposition of the kid's will. So there's a better option there that you could take if you were all powerful that would have no imposition of will, which would be like teleporting the kid, making him ethereal, giving him a personal force field, whatever you want, where the kid can still run into the street and the car can still go and there's no imposition on will. That would be the moral option. That is the most moral option. But what if the kid
wants to commit suicide, which you say is like the only moral way to die, and you don't know that, and now you're going to go and turn the kid into a ghost and thwart his intention? It's evil.
Then yes, that's evil, and you should apologize.
What if the kid doesn't want to be turned into a ghost in the first place?
Ooh, now you got a problem.
Give them a personal force field. You can turn the.
What if he doesn't want a personal force field?
No, you get the car. You can turn the car into a ghost.
But what if the driver of the car wants to kill the kid and the kid wants to die?
then you should not stop them. If they both voluntarily chose to do this, it would be immoral to stop them.
But you don't know that though. So what are you going to do?
So if someone's about to commit suicide and there's no way of convincing them to change their life so they can be happy, it's better to just let them die.
What? So if someone wants to die, it's moral to let them die or to help them to die. Yes.
So that's more moral than trying to help them out and console them and make them try to live a happy life. It's more moral to just let them die.
So you could give them the option and say, I can try to help you in life, or I can help you to die. And if they choose to die, it's more moral to help them to die.
Even if their mind is irrational because of depression, it's better to just let them die.
This only is relevant to rational mind. So if their mind is being impaired by a tumor or whatever, depression, then it's not a free choice. It's not a choice. It's depression. So it has to be the choice. It has to be their actual choice, not a result of a brain tumor.
Well, what about if
the car is being driven by an evil paraplegic, but it's actually controlled by an AI and it's trying to avoid hitting a group of people, Jews maybe?
And it's also a ghost.
Was there a question somewhere in there? I don't get the question.
I'm gonna echo what Battle Jew said about this. He's like, "What? Turning people into ghosts? Are you even listening to the words that are coming out of your mouth?" I'm loving this. Someone wants to know. Well, first of all, they think that TJump is phoning this in from the year 3000.
That's right. You see, I'm in the future and Josh is in the past.
Exactly. Someone just realized that you can swipe up on the screen to make it full screen and swipe down to go back. Their mind has been blown. You're welcome. That's what we do. We blow people's minds. I think this guy here has basically summarized TJump's argument in a single tweet. If anyone wants to retweet out the summary, would you agree with that, TJump?
Pretty much, yeah. Like the only caveat would be is that, again, you can't force anybody else to be in your world without their consent. So mostly when people think of a god, they think of someone who has ownership over other people, and that would not be possible in my world unless you consented to it. So that would be the only difference that would make you not like a god. You couldn't force other beings.
What
to
if
do
you're
anything.
irrational and wanting to choose to live in your own world? Like you said, that free choice can only concern rational agents. But what if you are irrational and you decide that you want to be your own god in your own world?
That doesn't make any sense. Like free choice, it doesn't need to be rational. Like I can choose to eat ice cream not because I'm rational, just because I like.
But
ice
you just
cream.
said that if someone's about to kill themselves and they're thinking that because it's irrational, then they're not making a free choice at that point.
If it's determined by something biologically, not them, it's not their choice. It's like a result of something outside of them, like a brain tumor. Then they don't have a rational mind in that sense. So it's mostly about consent, not literally rational, as in conforming to the laws of logic, kind of a thing. So if you don't have, if you're being determined by some other biological thing outside of yourself, then you don't have a rational mind, and that is itself immoral. So like if you have a brain tumor, like the Texas sharpshooter did, that itself is immoral, and we should prevent that from happening. We should prevent nature from impairing people's brains in that way. That would be the solution, is to get rid of the brain tumor and then see what they actually want.
What if you're choosing to be God in your own world because your brain is impaired by some sort
Again,
of...
you have to get rid of the brain tumor first and then let them choose.
What if God allowing the world of karma is the way of getting rid of that brain tumor?
Then God is dumb because he didn't think of the better solution that I did.
What if your
It's
solution
difficult
is
to
dumb and
argue
you
with
just don't
that.
know it?
That's a good argument.
We'll have to leave that up to the intuition of the audience. Is my solution dumb, that we could create a world where everyone gets their own world and can, like, it's literally impossible for any one person to force any other to do anything you don't consent to? Is that stupid? Is that a dumb solution?
You also
Doesn't
forgot
seem
to
like
mention
it.
where it's no difference between eating ice cream and eating poop. That should also be in your world.
No, like there could definitely be a difference. The taste could be different, but it's not morally different whether you choose to eat ice cream or poo.
But there's no if someone's trying to help you out and choose the ice cream, there's no real moral status of that person. They're just not really doing you any favor.
The morality is dependent upon what I want there. So if I want to be changed my mind, then what they're doing is moral. If I don't want my mind changed, then what they would be doing is immoral. And if I don't care one way or the other, they would be amoral. So again, it would be off of.
So if someone's trying to do something that'll make you more happy, but it's not allowing you to act on a certain bad choice you have, then that's immoral.
Yeah, if I don't want their help and they're trying to help me, that's immoral. So like if I want to play Dark Souls and suffer and be miserable and hate it and not want someone to help me beat it, then it would be immoral for them to give me spoilers and tell me how to beat it. Yes.
So it's immoral to give someone help.
If they don't want it, yes, it's immoral to help someone if they don't want the help.
So if someone's about to eat some really disgusting dog poop and you have some ice cream and you could persuade them to eat the ice cream, it's just totally evil for you to try to convince them otherwise.
If they don't want the help, then yes, it's immoral to help them if they do not want the help.
Here's a good question then. Is there an equivocation between being persuaded, which is what Adi Purusha is pointing to, like, hey, you should really eat this ice cream. It's probably going to taste better than that scoop of dog poop that you've got there. Is there an equivocation here between being persuaded and being forced? Because someone might say, no, I want this thing. Then you interact with them over time and then they change their mind.
Yes, like I said, that would be amoral if people don't care. Like if I'm open to it, that's fine. But if I don't want your help, I do not want you to tell me, it would be immoral to do that. Like for example,
but what if I talk to you and then afterwards you go, oh, actually, that would be a good idea. You've changed your mind now. I've caused you to do that. But you didn't start off saying, I want you to change my mind.
There are two different things. So if I don't want you to change my mind and you do it, then that was immoral. That's like giving someone spoilers. I do not want you to tell me what happens at the end of the movie. Even if you tell me that, oh, well, Captain America dies in the end, like, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. I still didn't want you to tell me that was still immoral. So if someone does not want help and you help them, that is immoral. It doesn't matter what you're helping them to do.
Like if you're helping them to not run in front of a truck.
So that would be, again, if they don't want to be hit by a truck, and you stop them, then that's the lesser immoral action. So if you forcibly stop them and they don't want to be stopped, that's immoral, but it's less immoral than letting them be hit by the truck. The more moral thing would be give them a personal force field, make them turn into a ghost, make the car not be able to hit them. Like there's infinitely many other ways to do it that don't involve an involuntary imposition of will. And all of those are more moral than the involuntary imposition of will option. It's just, that's what we pragmatically can do. And so it's the least immoral option we have given our limitations. But there's obviously a more moral option if we didn't have those limitations.
Here's a question that's directed at TJump, but I'm gonna ask both of you this. Do you like surprise birthday parties?
Yes, there's a dumb argument that Alex Malpass used. Surprise birthday parties would not be immoral if you didn't make them immoral. So example, if you could create your own universe and create a full list of all the things you can and cannot happen in your universe, if you don't put surprise birthday parties on the can't happen in my universe list, then they're not immoral. It would only be immoral if you said, don't ever give me a surprise birthday party, I hate them, or whatever. Then it would be immoral to give that person a surprise birthday party, but it wouldn't just be inherently moral.
Okay, so you do like surprise birthday parties.
No, I hate them. Don't ever give me a surprise birthday party.
Okay, I got that. We'll remember that. Adi Purusha, do you like surprise birthday parties?
If it's a good party.
Okay, so it depends on the quality of the party. We're getting to the top of the hour here. Someone just wanted to say thanks for the Captain America spoiler.
That's okay. I enjoy imposing on other people's wills. It makes me happy, so I'm okay with this.
So you enjoy being evil?
Yes, I do. I'm like Josh. We agree on this.
Okay. Yeah, we're getting to the top of the hour. So how about we go to the summary? And yeah, I'd really like to hear each of you summarize the essential argument of the other, just so we can be clear that we may not agree, but at least we understand each other.
I guess I can go first. So basically, if you like eating dog poop, then keep at it and keep eating that dog poop, and it's bad for someone to tell you otherwise.
Okay. I'll be the morally superior one here, and I will say that his argument is that having a relationship with God is the highest moral good, and in his model, that is what you should pursue, and the reason for suffering and evil and why it exists, and that is his model, which I don't think is correct. I think it is more moral. I think the life of a baby is more moral than any belief that you have. So even though I understand his model is that the belief is more moral and the consequences of the afterlife that you have for that belief is more moral, I think that the significance of your choice supersedes that. I think the life of the person is more moral, or more important, more significant than the belief that a person holds about it, or the relationship a person has with a being.
Yep, I got it. The universe, this is what I got from your argument. The universe is fundamentally evil because it involves the imposition of will and a lack of ultimate free choice to be able to choose anything. And it can all be solved with the simple
Technology.
addition of personal force fields, turning people into ghosts and teleportation.
Yep.
Okay, I got it. And Adi Purusha, I think the summary that TJump gave is pretty much what I got from your argument, that developing love of God is the highest good, and anything that leads towards that is good, and everything else that leads away from that is evil, no matter how it might appear on the surface. So if eating dog poop led you to love of God, it would be considered morally superior to eating ice cream.
I guess that's fair. I mean, obviously, some things would be like killing babies is bad under my.
So he accepts the dog poo analogy, but doesn't accept the baby one. I mean, come on.
The thing is, eating dog poop would never make you love God more. But
hey, you don't know that.
I've yet to meet a person who feels more connected to God by eating dog poop. But if you find me, I'll be happy to be disproved.
Hey, if you try it every day for 2 years, you'll get all your dreams will come true.
Maybe you can try that and let me know how it goes, so I can be sure.
And let's give the final word to Ram Emelianov, who's actually coming on for this debate next year about objective morality. He reckons that the Earth is actually an irregularly shaped ellipsoid. So he disagrees with your conclusion that it's a cube, Adi Purusha. Mine that it's flat. And TJump, I haven't heard you say it explicitly, but I kind of got the idea that you were a globe earther.
Oblate spheroid.
Oblate spheroid. Okay. There's another debate right there, the shape of the Earth. Thanks to everyone for tuning in today. Like, the chat has just been going exactly, it's just been going nuts. It's still going. Let's give the final word to Adam. We may not have arrived at any kind of conclusion, but we definitely understood two vastly different perspectives on the problem of evil in the world today. So thank you, Adi Purusha, for bringing your perspective, and TJump for bringing yours, and for bringing the couch. And thank you once again to all of our viewers. Please tune in again in the future for further episodes of Theology Unleashed, where Western skepticism meets Eastern theology and gets crushed. Have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna.
Thanks. See you guys later. Hare Krishna. We're still live, Josh.